Hi, I'm Scott with Vortex Optics, and today we're going to go over how to mount precision rifle scopes like our Vortex Razor 5-20. Alright, we are going to be working with a firearm, so we do want to make sure this thing is safe and clear of any round in the chamber, and it is. I've checked it previously, and I just want to show you guys that I'm checking it again. I can feel there's no round in the chamber, the bolt's open, so we can get going here. So what we have is, as I showed you before, our Vortex Razor 5-20 rifle scope, our precision matched rings, all the tools we'll need to do it. We got our torque wrench, bit driver, and bubble levels, and all this stuff will get our scope mounted properly. Getting started, we're going to go ahead and place our ring halves on the rail, taking into account proper eye relief with the scope. From this point, I like to just lightly snug up these bottom halves to where I can still slide them back and forth, contacting the recoil lug on the bottom of the ring. Okay, so I got them nice and I got them just a little snug, but with some play in them now, so I can feel them moving back and forth against the recoil lug of the ring. Okay, so now I take my rifle scope, set it down in the rings. I like to be able to slide my scope back and forth, nice and smooth in there. Okay, so from here, I go ahead and put my ring caps on, and I'm actually going to do the same exact thing I did with the cross bolts. I'm going to just lightly snug them down so the scope will still freely move in these rings, because we still need to adjust for eye relief. And on top of that, we still also want to make sure that we get these rings and the scope settled into the base and the scope settled into the rings just right, so no matter what we do this thing, it won't leave any ring marks. As you can see, the scope still moves through there nice and smooth. I can feel that the rings are getting very full surface contact. Right now what I'll do is I go ahead and I'll tighten down the ring bases, the bottom half of the rings. And to do that, we're going to use our torque wrench, and we're going to go up to 50 inch-pounds. Now, before we tighten these, we want to make sure that both of these rings are slid as far forward in their recess as possible. We want it all the way up against the recoil lug. Okay? I know that one's up against it. I'll just snug it up. I'm not going to torque them yet. I'm just going to snug it. I'm going to make sure the back ring is all the way up against the recoil lug. I mean, you just physically just push it and make sure it's nice and tight up against there. All right, now I'm going to snug that one up. Now I'm going to go ahead and torque these. When I torque these, since our precision matched rings actually have 2 screws on each ring half, I'm gonna rotate kind of like you would when you're changing a tire on your car. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go on the bottom half there. I'm gonna go back to the back ring, back to the front ring, and then back to the other screw on the back ring. Okay. So now we got our ring securely mounted to our base. Okay. At this point, the rifle scope should be still nice and smooth in those rings. Okay. So now at this point, I'm going to set the eye relief. So we want to get behind the scope and just get that scope where we have the nicest picture possible. So you want a nice clean edge where the field of view is the absolute widest you can get it. And right about there. Okay, now we're going to level the rifle scope. All right. And what I like to do is make sure that my rifle is level long ways first. Okay, and since this gun has a monopod on it, it makes that pretty easy. But obviously, you know, if you don't have a monopod, you can use anything you want. Your rear bag, a shoe. Now we're going to go on to leveling the scope to the rifle. So we got our bubble level on top of the turret, and what I like to use here is we have this this nifty little bubble level that just attaches. It's got this elastic rope here, and it's got the level right in here, and it just sits, got a nice flat surface, sits flat right on the Picatinny rail. So now what we want to do is make sure what we want to do is get these bubbles, get this scope and this rifle identically leveled. Okay, so we're going to match this bubble level up to this bubble level. All right, so now I want to make sure my gun is level. All right, that's pretty good. Of course, it is, you know, as you're messing around with it, it's going to move around a little bit. You need to keep a close eye on it. All righty, so I got the gun pretty good. And I see that I need to turn my rifle scope a little bit there. And they're looking pretty good. A little bit of cant there. Okay. So now I got them identical. Okay. I'm going to set my torque wrench on 15 inch-pounds. We'll get started here, and I'm just going to slightly, as soon as I feel any tension whatsoever, because it does not take much to throw this level off. And you want to keep an eye on your bubble levels this whole time. And if it does start to go off, if you catch it soon enough, you can go ahead and tighten up whichever side you need to throw that level in the level. Generally, the bubble goes away from you. So if I'm tightening the left side of the ring, the bubble's going right. Okay, so if it needs to move, the bubble needs to go right. I know I can put a little more tension on the left side of the ring, and it'll straighten that out. If I'm not too far along, you know, if you're too far along, you will have to go back and loosen everything up and kind of go from the get-go again. So I'm just going to continue rotating. Go back to the other ring. Start going a little tighter now. And I'm almost getting there. I can feel the torque wrench just, there we go. And one more to go. All right, so now we got our scope properly mounted. We're ready to take this gun to the range and get it zeroed.